What if the Jedi rebuilt their temple? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The Jedi Temple is empty, abandoned, dark. 10,000 Jedi gone, vanished overnight. The Senate is in chaos. Palpatine demands answers. But there are none, because the Jedi discovered his secret. They found the trap hidden in every clone trooper's brain. They uncovered the Sith Lord sitting in the Chancellor's chair. And instead of dying like he planned, they ran. Now they're building something new. Something he can't touch. Something that will destroy everything he's worked for. This is the story of how one clone's desperate warning saved the entire Jedi Order. How Anakin Skywalker became the leader he was always meant to be. And how the Jedi rebuilt their temple, not with stone and steel, but with something far more powerful. It begins with a soldier running for his life through the underbelly of Coruscant. Fives sprints through the underbelly of Coruscant, his breath ragged, his armor dented from a dozen near misses. Behind him, he can hear the boots of his brothers in pursuit. Brothers who no longer recognize him, brothers who have been ordered to kill him. He ducks into an alley and presses himself against the wall, trying to slow his breathing. In his hand, he clutches a data chip. The chip contains everything. The truth about the inhibitor chips, the truth about Order 66, the truth about the war itself. He knows he should go to the Jedi Temple. He knows he should find General Skywalker or Commander Rex. But every time he's tried to reach them, someone has intercepted him. Someone powerful. Someone who doesn't want this information to reach the Jedi. Fives isn't stupid. He's connected the dots. The chips were put there by the Kaminoans on orders from someone in the Republic. Someone who wants the clones to turn on their generals when the time comes. And that someone has enough power to have him hunted through the capital itself. He hears footsteps approaching and tenses. But the figure that rounds the corner isn't a clone. It's a woman in simple robes, her face hidden beneath a hood. She stops when she sees him and tilts her head. You're the one they're looking for. The clone who knows too much. Fives raises his blaster, but his hands are shaking. Who are you? A friend. Or at least, someone who shares your enemy. She pulls back her hood, revealing the face of a Jedi he doesn't recognize. My name is Aayla Secura. I felt your distress through the Force. Whatever you're carrying, whatever truth you've discovered, I think it's time you shared it with someone who can actually do something about it. Fives hesitates. He's been betrayed so many times in the past few days. But something in her eyes tells him she's genuine. And besides, what choice does he have? Okay. But not here. They'll find us. Then we go somewhere they won't think to look. She gestures for him to follow, and together they disappear into the Coruscant night. 3 hours later, Fives finds himself in a small apartment in the lower levels, surrounded by Jedi. Not the full council, but a group that Aayla has assembled in secret. Obi-Wan Kenobi sits across from him, his expression troubled. Beside him, Anakin Skywalker paces restlessly, his mechanical hand clenching and unclenching. Ahsoka Tano leans against the wall, her arms crossed. And in the corner, Master Plo Koon observes silently, his mask hiding whatever expression he might wear. Fives has told them everything. The chip in Tup's head, the malfunction that caused him to kill a Jedi, the discovery that every clone has one of these chips, the medical droid's analysis that revealed their true purpose, and the conspiracy that reaches to the highest levels of the Republic. Anakin stops pacing and turns to face him. You're saying that every clone in the Grand Army has one of these chips, and that they're designed to make us... He can't finish the sentence. To make you kill us, Ahsoka finishes quietly, on command, without hesitation, without remorse. Fives nods miserably. I've seen what happens when they activate. Tup didn't know what he was doing. He couldn't stop himself. And when my chips started to malfunction, I could feel it. This compulsion. This need to follow orders that hadn't even been given yet. It took everything I had to fight it. Obi-Wan strokes his beard thoughtfully. If what you're saying is true, then this entire war has been a trap. The clone army, commissioned in secret by a Jedi who died years ago. The war itself, pushing us further and further from our principles. And now this, a failsafe to ensure our destruction when someone decides we've outlived our usefulness. But who would have the power to orchestrate something like this? Who could commission an army, start a war, and plant the means of our destruction right under our noses? The room falls silent. They all know the answer, even if none of them want to say it. Someone in the Senate, Plo Koon says finally. Someone with enough influence to manipulate both sides of this conflict. Someone who has benefited from every escalation, every tragedy, every extension of emergency powers. Anakin's face goes pale. No. You can't mean... The Chancellor has been a friend to the Jedi, Obi-Wan says carefully. But Fives is right about one thing. Someone with enormous power has been hunting him. Someone who knew about his discovery almost immediately and moved to silence him. That suggests someone with access to military communications, Republic intelligence, and the authority to order clone troopers to execute one of their own without trial. Anakin shakes his head violently. Palpatine wouldn't... He's not... I've known him since I was a boy. He's guided me, supported me. He's not capable of something like this. Ahsoka puts a hand on his arm. Anakin, I know this is hard, but think about it. Who else could it be? Who else has the power to do all of this and remain hidden? Anakin pulls away from her, his expression anguished. I need proof, real proof, not just speculation. If we're going to accuse the Chancellor of the Republic of being a Sith Lord, we need more than a clone's testimony and our own suspicions. Obi-Wan nods slowly. Then we investigate. Quietly, carefully. We tell no one else until we're certain. Fives, you'll stay hidden here. We'll provide you with everything you need. The rest of us will dig into this. The Army's origins, the Chancellor's movements, the timing of every major event in this war. If there's a pattern, we'll find it. And if we're wrong, Plo Koon finishes for him. Then we will have lost nothing but time. But if we're right, we may be the only ones who can stop whatever is coming. The investigation takes weeks. They work in secret, using back channels and trusted contacts to piece together the puzzle. Each member of the group takes on a specific role, playing to their strengths while covering for each other's weaknesses. Ahsoka proves invaluable in gathering intelligence. Her status as a former Jedi, having left the Order after her wrongful accusation, gives her access to circles that current Jedi cannot reach. She moves through the underworld of Coruscant like a ghost, talking to smugglers, information brokers, and former Republic operatives who have grown disillusioned with the war. The stories she hears are troubling. Too many coincidences. Too many times when the enemy seemed to know exactly where Republic forces would be. Too many missions that failed because of leaked intelligence. One night, she meets with a Twi'lek named Numa, who served as a translator for the Republic on Ryloth. Numa has documents, data pads filled with communications between the Chancellor's office and military commanders. The orders they contain are routine, nothing obviously sinister. But hidden in the metadata, buried in encryption layers that Numa spent months cracking, are references to something called Project Contingency. The details are vague, but the scope is clear. This is a plan for the complete restructuring of the galactic government. And it was created years before the war even began. Ahsoka brings this information back to the group, and they add it to the growing pile of evidence. It is becoming harder and harder to deny the truth of what they're uncovering. Obi-Wan travels to Kamino and speaks with the Kaminoans directly, pressing them about the original order for the clone army. The journey itself is tense. He travels incognito, posing as a medical supply inspector, his lightsaber hidden beneath his robes. The ocean world rises before him, endless gray waters beneath endless gray skies, and he feels a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. The Kaminoans receive him with their usual cold courtesy. Prime Minister Lama Su leads him through the cloning facilities, proudly displaying the production lines where new clones are grown by the thousands. The efficiency is breathtaking and disturbing in equal measure. These are people being manufactured, souls being mass-produced, and no one seems to care. Obi-Wan asks careful questions, probing the edges of what the Kaminoans know without revealing his true purpose. And the answers he receives are troubling. A Jedi named Sifo Dyas placed the order, yes. But Sifo Dyas died before the order was fulfilled. Someone else took over the project. Someone who paid in untraceable credits and communicated only through encrypted channels. Someone who provided very specific requirements for the clones' mental conditioning, requirements that went far beyond standard military training. Who was this person? Obi-Wan asks. What did they want? But the Kaminoans cannot say, or will not. Their eyes slide away from his questions, and their answers become evasive. There are things they know that they will not share. Secrets buried beneath layers of professional discretion and perhaps something more. Fear, perhaps, or complicity. Obi-Wan leaves Kamino with more questions than answers. But the questions themselves are illuminating. The clone army was not created by the Jedi. It was created for a purpose that the Jedi were never meant to understand. Anakin, despite his reluctance, begins to watch Palpatine more closely. It requires him to spend time in the Chancellor's presence, attending meetings and private conversations that once felt like privileges, but now feel like infiltration missions. He forces himself to smile when Palpatine offers fatherly advice. He nods along when the Chancellor criticizes the Jedi's handling of the war. And all the while, he watches. He notices things he's never noticed before. The way the Chancellor seems to know about military developments before official reports reach him. The way he steers conversations toward the Jedi's failures, planting seeds of doubt. The way his eyes gleam with something that might be satisfaction when he speaks of the war's escalation. Small things, easily dismissed if you're not looking for them. But Anakin is looking now, and what he sees chills him to the bone. There are other details, too. The Chancellor's schedule, supposedly packed with meetings and diplomatic functions, has strange gaps that cannot be accounted for. His personal communications, which Anakin glimpses during visits, use encryption protocols that exceed anything the Senate should have access to. And his closest advisors, the men and women who have his ear on matters of state, include several figures that Republic intelligence has flagged as potential security risks. Most damning of all is what happens when Anakin reaches out with the Force. He has always felt a strange energy around the Chancellor, something he attributed to political power or personal charisma. But now, knowing what to look for, he recognizes it for what it truly is. The dark side, carefully masked but unmistakably present. One night, as Anakin meditates in his quarters, he reaches deeper than he ever has before. He sends his consciousness out across the city, feeling the pulse of life and death that makes up Coruscant's endless chaos. And there, emanating from the Senate building like heat from a furnace, he finds what he's been looking for. A darkness in the Force, a presence so carefully hidden that it's almost impossible to detect. Almost. The presence reacts to his touch, seeming to notice him for just a moment. Anakin pulls back instantly, his heart pounding. Did Palpatine feel that? Does he know that Anakin was searching for him? The questions haunt him through a sleepless night. Ahsoka infiltrates Republic intelligence and discovers a shadow network of operatives who answer to no official chain of command. Their orders come from a single source, encrypted and untraceable. But Ahsoka is clever, and she manages to plant a tracker on one of their communications. It leads her to a private office in the Senate building, an office that belongs to the Supreme Chancellor. Plo Koon reaches out to his contacts in the Jedi archives and uncovers records that have been deliberately obscured. References to an ancient Sith plot called the Grand Plan, a scheme spanning centuries designed to destroy the Jedi and restore the Sith to power. The final stage of this plan involves turning the galaxy's protectors into its oppressors, using an army of slaves to commit genocide against the very people they serve. When they finally reconvene, the evidence is overwhelming. Obi-Wan lays it all out, his voice heavy with the weight of what they've discovered. The clone army was commissioned by someone using Sifo Dyas's name after his death. The payment came from accounts linked to the banking clan, which has deep ties to both the Separatists and certain members of the Senate. The inhibitor chips were added to the original Kaminoan design at the request of an outside party who insisted they were necessary for docility. But the actual programming was done elsewhere, by someone with access to restricted Sith knowledge. And every major escalation of this war, every tragedy that has pushed the Republic closer to authoritarianism, can be traced back to information that could only have come from inside the Chancellor's office. Anakin sits in silence, his face ashen. He hasn't spoken since Obi-Wan began his presentation. When it's finally over, he looks up at his former master with eyes that are red-rimmed and hollow. It's him. It's been him all along. Obi-Wan nods sadly. I'm sorry, Anakin. I know how much he meant to you. Anakin laughs bitterly. He meant everything to me. When I was a slave on Tatooine, dreaming of a better life, I never imagined I'd find a new master hiding behind a kind smile. He straightens in his chair, and something hardens in his expression. What do we do now? That is the question that brings them to the Jedi Council chamber. Obi-Wan has insisted that this information cannot remain secret any longer. The full council must know. And so they gather, the 12 masters who guide the Order, to hear the terrible truth about the war they've been fighting. The atmosphere in the chamber is tense as the presentation begins. Obi-Wan has assembled their evidence into a coherent narrative, moving from the suspicious origins of the clone army through the systematic manipulation of the war to the final, damning conclusion. He speaks clearly and without embellishment, letting the facts tell their own story. The masters listen in silence, their faces growing grimmer with each revelation. Some shift uncomfortably in their seats. Others close their eyes, reaching out through the Force to verify what they're hearing. And when the presentation ends, the chamber erupts. Mace Windu's expression grows darker with every revelation. When Obi-Wan finishes, the Korun Master rises to his feet, his hand instinctively moving toward his lightsaber. We arrest him tonight. We go to the Senate building with a full strike team, and we end this before he can act. His voice is tight with barely contained fury. 20 years of fighting alongside the clones, 20 years of trusting them with our lives. and it was all a trap. Yoda shakes his head slowly. Caution, we must exercise. The Chancellor's popularity, at its peak it is. Arrest him without ironclad proof, and martyrs us he will make. Turn the Republic against the Jedi he will. Then hunters we become, not protectors. The ancient master's ears droop slightly, as if the weight of this knowledge is almost too much to bear. Ki Adi Mundi nods in agreement. Master Yoda is right. We cannot simply arrest the most powerful man in the galaxy on our word alone. The Senate would never accept it. The people would never accept it. We need to present our evidence publicly. Let the truth speak for itself. Perhaps we can find allies in the Senate. Senators who have also grown suspicious of the Chancellor's expanding powers. Shak Ti speaks up, her voice measured and thoughtful. There is another consideration. The clone army. If Palpatine realizes we've discovered the chips, he may activate them immediately. Millions of clones spread across every theater of the war, suddenly turning on their Jedi commanders. The casualties would be catastrophic. But Mace is not convinced. And while we're preparing our case, Palpatine will be preparing his counterstroke. He knows we're investigating him. He must know. A man that powerful, with that many spies, he'll have contingencies. If we give him time to act, we may never get another chance. He turns to face the others, his dark eyes blazing. Every day we wait is another day he grows stronger. Another day he tightens his grip on the Republic. Another day we lose more of our brothers and sisters to a war designed to destroy us. The debate continues for hours. Voices rise and fall. Tempers flare. Some argue for immediate action, others for patience. Some suggest revealing the truth to trusted senators, building a coalition that can act against Palpatine through legal means. Others worry that any senator they approach might be compromised, might warn Palpatine and trigger the very catastrophe they're trying to prevent. Depa Billaba raises a practical concern. Even if we could arrest Palpatine, what happens next? The Separatists won't simply surrender because we've exposed their hidden master. The war will continue. The Republic will be thrown into chaos. And the Jedi will be blamed for all of it. Even Piel, his one remaining eye narrowed in thought, offers another perspective. Perhaps we're thinking about this the wrong way. We keep asking how to defeat Palpatine. But maybe the better question is how to survive him. If he's truly been planning this for decades, then he's anticipated every move we might make. Every attack, every exposure, every alliance. What if the only winning move is not to play his game at all? It is Anakin who finally cuts through the noise. His voice is quiet, but it carries the weight of someone who has thought long and hard about what he's about to say. You're all missing the point. The debate isn't about how to stop Palpatine. It's about what the Jedi have become. He stands and walks to the center of the chamber, looking at each master in turn. I've spent the last few weeks watching Palpatine, studying him. And do you know what I realized? He's been playing us for years. Not just manipulating events, but manipulating us. Our pride, our certainty, our belief that we're the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. He pauses, gathering his thoughts. The Jedi were supposed to be peacekeepers, diplomats, mediators. But look at us now. We're generals, leading an army of slaves into battle. We've become so intertwined with the Republic that we can't even see how compromised we are. We live in a temple on the capital world, steps away from the Senate building. We take our orders from politicians. We've become exactly what Palpatine wanted us to become. Tools, weapons, and now he's ready to discard us. Mace frowns. What are you suggesting, Skywalker? I'm suggesting that arresting Palpatine isn't enough. Even if we succeed, even if we expose him and bring him to justice, what then? The Republic is rotten to the core. The Senate is corrupt. The war has poisoned everything. Even if Palpatine dies tonight, someone else will take his place. Another schemer, another manipulator. And we'll still be here, in this temple, waiting for the next betrayal. Yoda's ears perk up, and for the first time in hours, something like hope enters his ancient eyes. Speak more of this, you will. What propose you, young Skywalker? Anakin takes a deep breath. We leave. The simple words land like a thunderclap. Several masters rise to their feet in outrage. Leave? Abandon the Republic we've sworn to protect? But Anakin holds up his hand. Not abandon. Reform. The Jedi Order has existed for over 25,000 years. It existed before the Republic, and it can exist after. We've lost our way, because we've become too attached to institutions, too comfortable with power, too afraid to change. Palpatine exploited those weaknesses. If we stay here, in this temple, in this system, someone else will exploit them again. He gestures broadly. But if we leave, if we start fresh somewhere beyond the Republic's reach, we can rebuild. We can return to what the Jedi were always supposed to be. Teachers, healers, protectors of the innocent, not enforcers for the powerful. We can train a new generation of Jedi who aren't soldiers, who aren't generals, who aren't tools of the state. And we can do it somewhere Palpatine can't touch us. The chamber erupts in debate. Some masters are horrified by the suggestion. The Jedi Temple is sacred, a repository of knowledge and history spanning millennia. To abandon it would be to abandon their heritage, their identity. Others are intrigued despite themselves. They felt the wrongness of their current situation, the slow corruption of everything they stand for. The idea of starting fresh, of reclaiming their purpose, speaks to something deep within them. Obi-Wan steps forward to stand beside Anakin. I've thought about this too, and I believe Anakin is right. Not about abandoning our duty, but about recognizing that our duty isn't to the Republic. It's to the Force. It's to the people of the galaxy, all of them, not just the ones who happen to live in Republic space. If we stay here, we die. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Palpatine has seen to that. But if we go, if we find a new home and rebuild from the ground up, we have a chance. A chance to survive, and more importantly, a chance to become what we should have been all along. The debate continues through the night. By dawn, a decision has been reached. It is not unanimous, for such a momentous choice could never be. But the majority of the council agrees. The Jedi will leave Coruscant. They will take with them the younglings, the archives, the holocrons, everything that can be saved. They will find a new world, far from the Republic's reach, and they will rebuild. Those who wish to remain behind are free to do so. No one will be forced to leave. But the order itself will go. The evacuation takes 3 weeks. It must be done in secret, under the cover of normal operations. Ships come and go from the temple as they always have, but now they carry more than passengers. They carry the accumulated wisdom of 25,000 years. They carry the future of the Jedi Order. The logistics are staggering. The Jedi Temple houses over 10,000 individuals, including younglings, Padawans, knights, and masters. The archives contain millions of holocrons, datapads, and physical artifacts. The medical facilities are equipped with specialized equipment that cannot be easily replaced, and all of it must be moved without alerting the Chancellor or his spies. Anakin oversees much of the operation, his tactical mind well suited to the complex logistics involved. He breaks the evacuation into phases, each designed to look like routine operations, training exercises that conveniently move large groups of younglings, supply runs that happen to include precious artifacts, medical evacuations for Jedi suffering from battle fatigue, evacuations that never quite bring them back. He coordinates with sympathetic senators who provide cover stories and false manifests. Bail Organa of Alderaan is particularly helpful, arranging for his planet's relief ships to make regular stops at the temple. Mon Mothma of Chandrila provides diplomatic cover, claiming that certain Jedi are needed for sensitive negotiations that require complete secrecy. Each lie is small, plausible, designed to deflect attention rather than invite scrutiny. He arranges for decoy shipments to throw off anyone who might be watching. Empty crates labeled as containing sensitive equipment. Ships that jump to hyperspace only to circle back under different transponder codes. False trails leading to a dozen different systems across the outer rim. And he personally escorts the younglings to their transports, offering comfort to those who are frightened and reassurance to those who don't understand what's happening. These children trust the Jedi completely. They have no way of knowing that the order they love is being torn apart by forces beyond their comprehension. Anakin does his best to shield them from that knowledge, speaking of adventures and new beginnings rather than conspiracy and betrayal. One night, as he supervises the loading of the Archive's most precious holocrons, Padme finds him. She's heard rumors, of course. The whole Senate has heard whispers that something is happening with the Jedi. Strange movements, unexplained absences, a tension in the air whenever Jedi and senators interact. But Anakin has kept the truth from her, not wanting to put her at risk. When she sees his face, she knows immediately that whatever is happening is more serious than she imagined. She finds him in a loading bay, deep within the temple, surrounded by crates stamped with symbols she doesn't recognize. His face is haggard, dark circles under his eyes betraying sleepless nights. When he sees her, his expression shifts from surprise to guilt to something like relief. "Honey, what's going on?" Her voice is soft, but there's steel beneath it. She's not going to accept evasion, not this time. He looks at her for a long moment, then takes her hand and leads her to a quiet corner where they won't be overheard. "I can't tell you everything. Not yet. It's too dangerous. But I need you to trust me. Something terrible is coming, and the Jedi are doing the only thing we can to survive it." Padme's eyes search his face, reading the truth behind his careful words. Does this have something to do with the Chancellor? The question is sharp, direct. She's a politician. She knows how to cut through obfuscation. Anakin's silence is answer enough. Her hand goes to her mouth. She thinks of all the times she's defended Palpatine in the Senate, all the times she's trusted his judgment on matters of state, all the times he smiled at her with what she thought was genuine warmth. "Force, Ani. What has he done?" The words come tumbling out then, as if a dam has broken. He tells her everything. The inhibitor chips, the evidence they've gathered, the presence in the Force that confirms their worst fears. He tells her about the Order's decision to leave, about the new world they've found, about the future they're trying to build. He's a Sith Lord, Padme. He's been manipulating the war from the beginning. The clone army, the separatists, all of it has been his design. And he has a plan to destroy the Jedi. We discovered it just in time. Padme sways slightly, and Anakin steadies her. The floor seems to shift beneath her feet as everything she thought she knew about the Republic crumbles. She's dedicated her life to democracy, to the belief that good people working together can make the galaxy better. And all along, the greatest enemy of democracy has been sitting at its heart, pulling strings she never even knew existed. He waits while she processes the information, watching the play of emotions across her face. Horror, disbelief. And then, slowly, a cold fury that he's never seen in her before. It transforms her features, hardening them into something fierce and determined. That monster. I trusted him. I defended him. I helped give him the power he has now. Her hands clench into fists at her sides. She thinks of every vote she cast in the Senate, every compromise she made to preserve the Chancellor's authority. How many of those decisions played directly into his hands? She looks up at Anakin with fierce determination. What can I do? How can I help? Anakin hesitates. He knows she wants to fight, to expose Palpatine, to tear down everything he's built. But that's not what the Jedi have chosen. We're not confronting him directly. Not yet. We're leaving, Padme. The whole order. We're going somewhere he can't reach us, and we're going to rebuild. And I want you to come with me. Padme stares at him. Leave Coruscant? Leave the Senate? Anakin, I can't just abandon everything I've worked for. I have a responsibility to Naboo, to the Republic. This war, I know. I know it feels like running away. But think about it, Padme. You've spent years trying to fix the Republic from the inside. Has it worked? Has anything gotten better? Or has Palpatine just used your idealism, your passion, your belief in democracy to tighten his grip on power? The words hit her like a physical blow. She wants to argue, to insist that she's made a difference. But deep down, she knows he's right. Every time she's thought she was winning, the Chancellor has turned it to his advantage. Every compromise she's made has led to another. The Republic she loves is dying, and nothing she's done has been able to save it. She takes a heavy, shaky breath. Where would we go? Anakin allows himself a small smile. Somewhere the Senate can't reach. Somewhere we can raise our child in peace. Her hand goes instinctively to her stomach. You know, the Force told me. Anakin's smile widens. It also told me that our child is going to change the galaxy. But not if we stay here. Not if we let Palpatine win. That night, Padme makes her decision. She records a message for the people of Naboo, explaining that she's stepping down from the Senate for personal reasons. She doesn't mention Palpatine, doesn't hint at the darkness she's discovered. That revelation will come later, when the time is right. For now, she simply says goodbye. The final days of the evacuation are tense. Everyone can feel Palpatine watching, even if he hasn't made a move yet. Perhaps he's waiting to see what they'll do. Perhaps he's planning his counterstroke. Either way, the Jedi work faster, pushing themselves to the limit to get everyone and everything out before the trap springs shut. The last ship to leave the temple carries the council. Yoda stands at the ramp, looking back at the building that has been his home for over 8 centuries. His ancient eyes are sad but clear. He knows this is the right choice. He knows it in his bones, in the Force itself. The old ways have failed. It is time for something new. End this, we will not, he murmurs as the ramp closes. Beginning it, we are. The convoy travels for days through hyperspace, taking a circuitous route designed to throw off any pursuit. When they finally emerge from their last jump, they find themselves in a star system at the very edge of the galaxy. The planet before them is covered in forests and mountains, with no signs of industrial civilization. It is called Tython, and according to the oldest records in the Jedi archives, it is where the Order first began. Tens of thousands of years ago, The first Force sensitives gathered on this world to study the mysteries of the light and the dark. They built temples and academies. They developed the techniques that would eventually become the Jedi Code. And then, for reasons lost to history, they left. Tython was forgotten, its location erased from most star maps, its legacy preserved only in fragmentary records that most Jedi considered legend. But Yoda remembered. He had found the coordinates in a holocron created by one of the earliest Grandmasters, tucked away in a corner of the archive that no one had visited in millennia. He had kept them secret, unsure why the Force had led him to them. Now he understands. The landing is rough. The planet's geography has changed dramatically over the millennia, and the ancient landing sites no longer exist. Storms buffet the descending ships, and the navigation computers struggle to compensate for the planet's strange electromagnetic fields. But the Jedi are resourceful, and they find a suitable location in a broad valley surrounded by snow-capped mountains. The valley stretches for kilometers in every direction, fed by rivers that tumble down from the peaks. Ancient forests cover the slopes, their trees towering hundreds of meters into the sky. The air is clean and cold, carrying scents that no Jedi has breathed in millennia. This is a world untouched by industrial civilization, a world where the Force flows as freely as the water and the wind. As they step out onto the surface of Tython for the first time, they can all feel it. The Force is strong here, stronger than anywhere they've ever been. It pulses beneath their feet, flows through the air they breathe, whispers in the wind that rustles the leaves of ancient trees. This is a world steeped in the Force, and it welcomes them home. Yoda is the first to touch the ground. His ancient feet sink into the soft earth, and he closes his eyes, reaching out with senses that span nearly a millennium of experience. Tears stream down his weathered face. Home, he whispers. Truly home this is. The first months are difficult. They have to build everything from scratch: shelters, infrastructure, defenses. The younglings need to be cared for. The wounded need healing. The archives need to be secured. And all of this must be done while establishing farms and water supplies and all the other necessities of life on an undeveloped world. The work begins immediately. Survey teams fan out across the valley, mapping resources and identifying building sites. Engineers begin designing structures that can withstand Tython's harsh winters. Farmers study the soil, determining what crops might grow in this alien environment. Healers establish field hospitals to treat the sick and injured. And the younglings, confused but adaptable as children always are, begin exploring their new home with wide-eyed wonder. But the Jedi rise to the challenge. They've spent their lives serving others, and now they turn that service inward, toward their own community. Masters who have spent decades in meditation learn to plant crops and build walls. Knights who have fought on 100 battlefields learn to teach children and tend gardens. And the younglings, who might have spent their formative years in sterile temple classrooms, instead grow up surrounded by nature, learning to feel the Force not through abstract lessons, but through direct experience of the living world. The transformation is remarkable. Jedi who have never held anything heavier than a lightsaber discover talents for construction and engineering. Scholars who have spent their lives buried in holocrons find joy in working the earth with their hands. And warriors who have known nothing but battle discover the profound peace that comes from creating rather than destroying. Anakin thrives in this environment. For the first time in his life, he doesn't feel like an outsider. On Coruscant, he was always the exception, the slave boy who became a Jedi, the chosen one burdened with impossible expectations. Here, on Tython, everyone is starting over. Everyone is learning. Everyone is finding their place in a community that values contribution over pedigree. His mechanical skills, dismissed as beneath a Jedi on Coruscant, are invaluable here. He designs and builds irrigation systems that channel water from mountain streams to the growing fields. He constructs power generators that harness geothermal energy from Tython's volcanic core. He creates defensive emplacements that can detect incoming ships from across the system. He teaches the older Padawans how to repair droids and maintain vehicles, sharing knowledge that was once considered beneath them. They gather around him in makeshift workshops, learning to calibrate sensors and replace power cells and diagnose engine failures. For many of them, it's the first time they've ever gotten their hands dirty. They discover, to their surprise, that they enjoy it. And when the first child is born on Tython, a healthy baby girl named after a Jedi who died in the Clone Wars, Anakin builds a cradle for her with his own hands. He selects wood from a fallen tree, shapes it with traditional tools rather than machines, carves patterns into the headboard that tell the story of the Jedi's journey to this world. When the cradle is complete, he presents it to the new parents with a pride that surprises him. This is what it means to build something, he realizes. Not monuments to power or symbols of authority, but things that serve real needs. Things that make life a little better for the people around you. This is what the Jedi were always supposed to do. Padme adapts as well, though not without difficulty. She's a politician, an orator, a woman who has spent her life in the halls of power. Tython has no halls of power, no great debates, no galactic crises to resolve. But she finds her place eventually. She becomes the colony's voice, mediating disputes, organizing community meetings, ensuring that the democratic principles she's always believed in are woven into the fabric of this new society. And when her time comes, she gives birth to twins in a small medical facility that the Jedi have built with their own hands. A boy named Luke and a girl named Leia, the first Skywalkers born free. Obi-Wan watches his former Padawan with pride and perhaps a little wonder. The angry young man he once trained, always struggling against the constraints of the code, has become something else entirely. A husband, a father, a leader. When the council discusses the reforms they're implementing, Anakin's voice carries weight. He argues for allowing attachments, for training students of all ages, for a more flexible interpretation of the code. And increasingly, the other masters listen. It is during one of these discussions that Anakin makes a proposal that will reshape the Order forever. "We've been talking about individual reforms," he says, standing before the assembled council, allowing marriage, training older students, being more accepting of emotion. But we haven't addressed the fundamental problem. He pauses, gathering his thoughts. The old Jedi Order was built on fear. Fear of the dark side, fear of attachment, fear of passion. We were taught to suppress our emotions, to deny our connections, to cut ourselves off from everything that makes us human, or whatever species we happen to be. He adds with a nod to the non-human masters present. That fear made us weak. It made us rigid. It made us unable to adapt when the galaxy changed around us. And worst of all, it made us vulnerable to people like Palpatine, who understood our weaknesses better than we did ourselves. Yoda leans forward, his expression thoughtful. "Propose what, do you?" "A new code. Not a rejection of the old one, but an evolution. One that acknowledges the dark side without fearing it. One that embraces attachment as a source of strength rather than weakness. One that trusts individual Jedi to find their own balance rather than imposing a single rigid path on everyone." The proposal sparks the most intense debate since the Order arrived on Tython. Some masters are horrified, arguing that the code has protected them from the dark side for millennia. Others are intrigued, having seen firsthand how the old ways failed. The discussion continues for days, spilling out of the council chamber and into the broader community. In the end, a compromise is reached. The new code will not replace the old one entirely. Instead, it will be offered as an alternative, a different path for those who feel called to it. Students will be taught both philosophies and allowed to choose their own way when they come of age. The goal is not uniformity, but diversity, a recognition that the Force works through all of them differently. The new code, when it is finally written, reads very differently from the old. Where once it said there is no emotion, there is peace, it now says through emotion, we find peace. Where once it said there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, it now says through knowledge, we overcome ignorance. The emphasis shifts from denial to integration, from suppression to balance. And at the center of it all is a new understanding of the Force itself, not as a power to be controlled, but as a partner to be embraced. News of the Jedi's disappearance spreads slowly through the galaxy. At first, there are only rumors. The temple on Coruscant stands empty, its doors sealed, its windows dark. The Jedi who were serving with the clone armies have vanished, leaving behind only brief messages explaining that they've been recalled. No one knows where they've gone or why. Palpatine is furious. His grand plan, decades in the making, has been disrupted at the crucial moment. The Jedi were supposed to remain on Coruscant, obedient and unsuspecting, until Order 66 eliminated them. But now they're gone, scattered to the winds, beyond his reach. He orders his intelligence services to find them. But the Jedi have covered their tracks well. The convoy used random hyperspace routes, changed ships multiple times, and left false trails leading to a dozen different systems. Tython's coordinates were purged from every navigational database millennia ago. For all his power, Palpatine cannot find them. But he is nothing if not adaptable. If the Jedi won't come to him, he'll simply proceed without them. The Clone Wars continue, grinding on toward their inevitable conclusion. Without Jedi generals, the Republic's military struggles, but Palpatine uses this as an opportunity to consolidate more power. Emergency measures become permanent. Military governors replace elected officials. The clone army grows larger and more powerful, even as the chips in their heads wait for orders that may never come. And then, 1 year after the Jedi's departure, Palpatine makes his move. He stages an assassination attempt on himself, blaming it on separatist agents. In the chaos that follows, he declares martial law and announces the transformation of the Republic into the Galactic Empire. The Senate, cowed and compliant, votes to grant him absolute power. The few who object are arrested or killed. Democracy dies, not with a bang, but with thunderous applause. The news reaches Tython 3 days later, transmitted by a sympathetic senator who escaped Coruscant just ahead of the purge. Padme listens to the recording with tears streaming down her face. She recognizes some of the voices cheering for the Empire, colleagues she worked with, friends she trusted. How could they? She whispers. How could they give him everything? Because they were afraid, Anakin says quietly. Fear is the weapon Palpatine has always used best. Fear of the separatists, fear of chaos, fear of freedom itself. The council convenes to discuss their response. Some argue for immediate action, a strike against Palpatine while he's consolidating power. Others counsel patience, pointing out that they're still rebuilding and in no position to challenge an enemy with the resources of an entire galaxy. Yoda listens to all arguments before offering his own perspective. Ready? We are not. But prepare we must. Time. Palpatine will need to solidify his rule. That time, use we shall. Build our strength we will. Train new Jedi we shall. And when the moment comes, strike we must. But not in anger, not in revenge, in hope, in service to the light. The decision is made. The Jedi will continue their work on Tython, growing stronger with each passing year. They will reach out to allies across the galaxy, building a network of resistance to the Empire. And they will wait for the right moment to act. 2 years pass, then 5, then 10. The Empire tightens its grip on the galaxy, but it is not the absolute dominion Palpatine dreamed of. Without Order 66 to eliminate the Jedi, without the manufactured crisis that would have justified total control, his power is limited. There are still systems that resist, still senators who speak out, still sparks of rebellion that refuse to be extinguished. The absence of the Jedi from Coruscant, while painful for the Order, has proven to be an unexpected advantage. Without a clear enemy to point to, Palpatine's rhetoric rings hollow. He rants about the treacherous Jedi, but he cannot produce their bodies. He warns of their plots, but he cannot show evidence. The people begin to wonder if the Emperor's fears are justified or merely convenient. More importantly, the clone army, which was meant to be the instrument of the Jedi's destruction, proves unreliable. Without the chips activated, the clones remain loyal to their original programming, which emphasized service to the Republic rather than obedience to any individual. When Palpatine tries to consolidate power, many clone units refuse his more extreme orders. Some desert entirely, making their way to Tython or other resistant strongholds. Others simply disappear, melting into the galactic population to live out their accelerated lives in peace. The most famous of these defectors is Captain Rex, who leads nearly his entire battalion away from Imperial service in the early days of the Empire. He contacts the Jedi through old channels, offering his soldiers skills in exchange for sanctuary. The offer is accepted, and soon clone veterans are training alongside Jedi Knights, sharing techniques and building bonds that transcend their origins. The growing resistance emboldens others. On worlds across the galaxy, people begin to push back against Imperial rule. Small acts of defiance at first, graffiti and protests, but growing bolder with each passing year. Underground networks spring up, smuggling refugees and supplies, sharing information, coordinating strikes against Imperial facilities. The Empire, for all its might, cannot be everywhere at once. There are still systems that resist, still senators who speak out, still sparks of rebellion that refuse to be extinguished. And on Tython, the new Jedi Order flourishes. The first generation of students trained under the Reformed Code come of age, and they are remarkable. Stronger, more balanced, more adaptable than their predecessors. They understand both the light and the dark, not as opposing forces, but as aspects of a greater whole. They form attachments without losing themselves. They feel emotion without being consumed by it. They are what the Jedi were always meant to be. Luke and Leia Skywalker are among them. From their earliest years, their connection to the Force has been extraordinary. They train alongside other younglings, learning the same lessons, following the same curriculum. But there is something different about them, a potential that even the oldest masters can sense. They are their father's children, heirs to the prophecy of the Chosen One. And in time, they will play a crucial role in the galaxy's future. But that time is not yet. For now, they are simply children, growing up in a community that loves them. Luke has his father's mechanical aptitude and his mother's quiet determination. Leia has her mother's fierce intelligence and her father's passionate heart. They are close in a way that only twins can be, their bond in the Force linking them together even when they're apart. Anakin watches them grow with a pride that sometimes leaves him breathless. These children, these perfect beings, are his and Padme's. Created from their love, raised in freedom, destined for greatness. Everything he went through, all the pain and struggle and doubt, was worth it for this. For them. And yet, even in this paradise, shadows gather. The Empire has not forgotten the Jedi. Its agents search the galaxy, following every rumor, investigating every lead. Bounty hunters are hired. Inquisitors, Force sensitives trained in the dark side, are deployed to hunt down any Jedi who might have escaped. And slowly, piece by piece, clues begin to accumulate. The first attack comes 15 years after the Exodus. A small Imperial fleet, led by one of Palpatine's most trusted admirals, drops out of hyperspace above Tython. They've traced a supply ship that made one too many trips to the Outer Rim, followed its hyperspace signature through a dozen jumps, and finally found the world the Jedi have been hiding on. The battle that follows is fierce but brief. The Jedi have not been idle during their years of exile. They've built defenses, trained pilots, prepared for exactly this scenario. When the Star Destroyers open fire, they're met with ion cannons and turbo-laser batteries that emerge from hidden positions across the planet's surface. Starfighters pour out of concealed hangars, engaging the TIE fighters that escort the capital ships. Anakin leads the defense from his personal starfighter, a custom-built craft that combines the best elements of Republic and Separatist design. He's older now, his hair touched with gray, his face lined by years of responsibility. But his skills have only grown sharper, his connection to the Force deeper and more refined. He dances through the chaos of battle, taking out TIE fighters with almost casual precision, drawing the attention of the Imperial pilots so that the younger Jedi can strike from unexpected angles. The flagship, a Venator-class Star Destroyer that Anakin recognizes from his days as a Republic general, focuses its fire on the main settlement. Shields flare as turbo-laser bolts slam into them, but they hold. On the ground, Obi-Wan coordinates the defense, directing troops and adjusting shield frequencies, his calm voice a steady presence in the chaos. The turning point comes when a team of Jedi Knights boards the flagship. They cut their way through stormtroopers and naval personnel, making for the bridge with single-minded determination. At their head is a young woman with dark hair and fierce eyes. Leia Skywalker, 16 years old and already one of the most formidable duelists in the Order. She reaches the bridge just as the Admiral is ordering a retreat. He turns to face her, reaching for his sidearm, but she's faster. Her lightsaber ignites, a brilliant blue that illuminates the entire room. Around her, her fellow Jedi fan out, their own weapons humming to life. Admiral, you have two choices. Surrender your ship and your crew, or die here. The Admiral looks at the young woman, at the calm certainty in her eyes, and makes his decision. He lowers his weapon and raises his hand. The battle is won, but the war has just begun. Palpatine now knows where the Jedi are hiding. He'll send more ships, more troops, more Inquisitors. Tython is no longer safe. The Council convenes to discuss their options, and for the first time in years, there is disagreement about the path forward. Some argue for fortifying Tython, turning it into an impregnable fortress that can withstand any assault. Others suggest scattering again, spreading across the galaxy so that no single attack can destroy them all. A few, including some of the more militant masters, propose going on the offensive, taking the fight to the Empire before it can marshal its full strength. It is Yoda who offers the perspective that ultimately prevails. Hiding we have been, waiting, preparing. But the time for hiding over it is. Found us, Palpatine has. Send everything he will to destroy us. Survive by running, we cannot. Survive by hiding, we cannot. Only one path remains. His eyes sweep the room, meeting each master's gaze in turn. Fight we must. Not to conquer, not to rule, but to free. The galaxy, enslaved it has been. The Jedi, protectors of the innocent we are meant to be. Time it is to remember that. The decision is made. The Jedi will go to war, not as servants of a corrupt government, but as champions of freedom. They will strike at the Empire's weak points, support local rebellions, and slowly but surely dismantle Palpatine's tyranny. It will take years, perhaps decades, but they will not stop until the galaxy is free. The campaign that follows becomes the stuff of legend. Jedi appear on worlds across the galaxy, offering hope to the oppressed and fear to the oppressors. They free prisoners from Imperial detention centers, sabotage weapon factories, and assassinate key Imperial officials. Wherever tyranny flourishes, the Jedi are there to oppose it. These are not the passive peacekeepers of the old order. These are warriors of light, tempered by exile and hardened by loss. They move through the galaxy like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before reinforcements can arrive. Their reputation grows with each successful mission, each liberated world, each tyrant brought to justice. But they are more than warriors. On worlds they liberate, the Jedi stay to help rebuild. They establish schools and hospitals, train local militias, help communities learn to govern themselves. They understand that defeating the Empire is only the first step. What comes after, the slow work of healing a wounded galaxy, is just as important. Some of the most remarkable missions involve former slaves. The Empire has maintained and expanded the slavery that the Republic officially banned, but never truly eliminated. Entire species have been pressed into bondage, their labor fueling Imperial war machines. The Jedi make it their special mission to free these beings, honoring the memory of Anakin's own enslaved childhood. On Kessel, they liberate thousands of miners who have spent their lives extracting spice in conditions barely above torture. On Zagaria, they dismantle a slave empire that has flourished under Imperial protection. On countless worlds, they break the chains that bind beings to masters who see them as property rather than people. Anakin leads many of these missions personally. Age has not diminished his skills, and his reputation precedes him wherever he goes. Imperial troops learn to fear the name Skywalker, spoken in hushed whispers around campfires and in barracks. Stories spread of a warrior who moves like lightning, whose blade cannot be stopped, who appears from nowhere and vanishes just as quickly. Some say he's more legend than man. Others whisper that he's the ghost of the old Republic, come back to haunt those who betrayed it. But Anakin knows that individual victories, no matter how impressive, won't win this war. The Empire is vast, its resources seemingly infinite. Its military dwarfs anything the Resistance can field. Its propaganda machine pumps out endless streams of lies and distortions. Its security apparatus monitors communications across thousands of worlds. To truly defeat it, they need to strike at its heart. Palpatine. The Emperor has retreated to his palace on Coruscant, surrounding himself with the most loyal of his followers. He knows the Jedi are coming for him. He's known since the day they escaped his trap. And he spent 20 years preparing for this moment, fortifying his position, eliminating potential threats, ensuring that when the final confrontation comes, he will emerge victorious. The plan takes 3 years to develop. Intelligence is gathered from 100 sources. Defectors are interviewed, communications are intercepted. Slowly, a picture emerges of the Emperor's movements. his security protocols, his weaknesses. And he has weaknesses. For all his power, Palpatine is not invincible. He relies on fear to maintain control, but fear can be turned against him. He trusts no one completely, which means he has no true allies, only servants who might turn against him if they see an advantage. And most importantly, his connection to the dark side, while immense, has made him overconfident. He believes the Jedi cannot touch him. He believes he has already won. The strike is launched on the 20th anniversary of the Empire's founding. It is a date Palpatine has chosen for a grand celebration, a galaxy-wide demonstration of Imperial might. The Emperor himself will preside over the festivities from his palace on Coruscant, surrounded by his guards, his admirals, his inquisitors. It is the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. It is also, for one brief window, vulnerable. The attack begins with a series of diversions. Rebel cells across the core worlds launch simultaneous strikes, drawing Imperial attention away from Coruscant. Ships emerge from hyperspace at seemingly random points, engaging Imperial patrols and then jumping away before they can be destroyed. The chaos is carefully orchestrated, designed to create the maximum confusion with the minimum casualties. While the Empire scrambles to respond, a small team of Jedi infiltrates Coruscant itself. They move through the underworld of the planet city, using old routes that Anakin remembers from his years living there. Contacts established over 2 decades of resistance provide safe houses, false identities, and crucial intelligence. The team consists of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Luke, Leia, and 6 other Jedi Masters. Each of them has trained for this mission specifically, preparing for every contingency they could imagine. They know the palace's layout, its security systems, its patrol routes. They know where Palpatine will be and when. And they know that this may be a one-way trip. The approach to the palace is tense. They move in pairs, taking different routes, converging on the target from multiple directions. Anakin and Luke take the direct path, cutting through the maintenance tunnels beneath the palace. Father and son, walking together toward destiny. "We might not make it out of this," Luke says quietly as they pause at a junction. Anakin looks at his son, seeing so much of himself in those blue eyes, and so much of Padme. "I know. Are you afraid?" "A little," Luke admits, "but not of dying. I'm afraid of failing, of letting you down, of not being strong enough." Anakin puts a hand on his son's shoulder. "Luke, you are stronger than I ever was at your age. Stronger than I am now, in some ways. Whatever happens in there, I want you to know that I'm proud of you. More proud than I can express." Luke's eyes glisten, but he nods firmly. "Let's finish this." They emerge from the tunnels into a service corridor. Ahead, they can hear the sounds of the celebration, music and laughter, and the drone of self-congratulatory speeches. The Emperor is holding court, surrounded by his sycophants, basking in the adulation of a captive galaxy. He doesn't know that his end is approaching. The attack begins without warning. Anakin and Luke burst into the throne room from one side, Obi-Wan and Leia from another. The other Jedi enter through various access points, their lightsabers igniting in a synchronized flash of color. Blue and green and purple blades illuminate the vast chamber, casting strange shadows across the faces of the assembled dignitaries. For a moment, time seems to freeze. The Imperial Guards, elite warriors trained from birth to protect the Emperor, reach for their force pikes. The assembled admirals and politicians scramble for cover. And at the center of it all, seated on his throne like a spider in its web, Palpatine watches with an expression that might almost be amusement. The Imperial guards react immediately, their force pikes humming to life, but they're hopelessly outmatched. These are Jedi trained not by the compromised order of old, but by masters who have spent 20 years preparing for exactly this fight. The guards are formidable warriors, among the best in the galaxy, but they stand no chance against opponents who can anticipate their every move. Luke takes down 3 in rapid succession, his blade a blur of motion. Leia disarms 2 more with a single sweep of her saber. The other Jedi cut through the remaining guards with efficient precision, clearing a path to the throne. Palpatine rises from his throne, his expression shifting from surprise to fury to something that might almost be delight. The pretense of the kindly Chancellor falls away like a discarded mask, revealing the monster beneath. His eyes glow with unholy light, and darkness seems to coil around him like a living thing. Ah, the Jedi. At last. I was beginning to think you'd lost your nerve. His voice is different now, stripped of its political smoothness. It's raw, ancient, saturated with contempt. He sheds his ceremonial robes, revealing the black garments beneath. His lightsaber appears in his hand, as if by magic, its crimson blade casting bloody shadows across his face. The dignitaries flee screaming, trampling each other in their desperation to escape. The holonet cameras, still broadcasting across the galaxy, capture everything. Trillions of viewers watch as the Emperor reveals his true nature. The battle is unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. 10 Jedi against the most powerful Sith Lord in history. Lightsabers flash and clash, the Force itself seeming to bend and twist around the combatants. Palpatine fights with a savagery that belies his aged appearance, his blade moving faster than the eye can follow, Force lightning crackling from his fingertips. The throne room transforms into a battlefield. Pillars shatter under the impact of Force-thrown debris. Windows explode outward, letting in the cold night air of Coruscant. The floor cracks and buckles as waves of Force energy ripple across it. And through it all, the combatants dance their deadly dance. 2 Jedi fall in the first minute, cut down by the Emperor's relentless assault. Master Tra-Sa, a Neti who has lived for over 1,000 years, takes a blade of lightning through her chest. Knight Vulvif Mon, one of the finest duelists of his generation, is hurled through a shattered window to his death far below. A third is thrown through a window, plummeting toward the city far below. But the others press on, their coordinated attacks forcing Palpatine to defend rather than attack. They move in patterns perfected through years of training together, each Jedi covering the other's weaknesses, creating openings that force the Emperor to constantly readjust his defense. Anakin is at the center of the assault, his blade meeting Palpatine's again and again. 20 years of training, 20 years of preparation have led to this moment. He can feel the dark side calling to him, promising power, promising victory. But he doesn't need it. He has something stronger. He has purpose. He has love. He has his family fighting beside him. Luke and Leia flank the Emperor, their twin blades working in perfect harmony. They've trained together since childhood, their connection through the Force making them almost a single fighter with 2 bodies. When Luke feints high, Leia strikes low. When Leia draws the Emperor's attention left, Luke attacks from the right. They are relentless, tireless, and utterly determined. Obi-Wan, older now but no less skilled, supports the assault with precision strikes that force Palpatine to divide his attention. The other surviving Jedi form a perimeter, preventing any Imperial guards from intervening, cutting down the Inquisitors who try to aid their master. The fight rages across the throne room, toppling pillars, shattering windows, leaving destruction in its wake. Palpatine's power is immense, But he's facing opponents who have spent their entire lives preparing for this moment. And slowly, inexorably, they begin to wear him down. A strike from Anakin grazes the Emperor's arm. A kick from Luke staggers him backward. A thrust from Leia nearly takes his head. He's being driven toward the shattered window, his options narrowing with every passing second. "You cannot defeat me," Palpatine snarls, unleashing a torrent of Force lightning that drives them all back. "I am the dark side. I am eternal. I will destroy you and everyone you love, and the galaxy will tremble before my power for 1,000 generations." Anakin rises from where the lightning has thrown him. His robes are smoking, his skin burned, but his eyes are clear. No. He walks forward, step by step, into the storm of lightning. Each step costs him, pain beyond anything he's ever experienced. But he doesn't stop. "You're not eternal. You're just a man. A sad, frightened man who's spent his whole life trying to fill the emptiness inside him with power he doesn't deserve." The lightning intensifies, but Anakin keeps coming. Behind him, Luke and Leia add their strength to his, channeling their power through their father, creating a shield that allows him to advance. Obi-Wan joins them, and then the other Jedi, all of them united in a single purpose. "This is what you never understood, Palpatine." Anakin is close now, close enough to see the fear in the Emperor's eyes. The true power of the Force isn't about control. It isn't about dominion. It's about connection. It's about love. And that's something you'll never have. He raises his lightsaber. Palpatine tries to block, but his arms won't move. The combined will of the Jedi holds him in place, frozen, helpless. For one moment, their eyes meet. The Chosen One and the Dark Lord. The light and the shadow. And then Anakin's blade falls, and the Emperor is no more. In the silence that follows, the galaxy seems to hold its breath. The holonet feeds, which have been broadcasting the celebration to trillions of viewers, capture everything. The Emperor's defeat, the Jedi's victory, the end of an era. For a long moment, no one moves. The surviving Jedi stand over the fallen Sith Lord, their lightsabers still ignited, their breath coming in ragged gasps. It doesn't seem real. After 20 years of struggle, after countless battles and sacrifices, it's over. The monster who destroyed the Republic, who murdered their friends, who nearly exterminated their entire order, lies dead at their feet. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber. His hands are trembling. Not from exhaustion, though he is exhausted. Not from fear, though he was terrified. But from the sheer, overwhelming weight of what they've accomplished. He looks at his children, at his oldest friend, at the comrades who have survived to see this day. And for the first time in longer than he can remember, he allows himself to believe that they might actually win. The holonet cameras are still broadcasting. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watch as Luke Skywalker kneels beside the Emperor's body and confirms what everyone already knows. He's dead. The Emperor is dead. The words spread like wildfire through the network, repeated on 1 million worlds, shared between 1 billion beings. The Emperor is dead. The Empire is over. Across the galaxy, the reaction is immediate and overwhelming. On Coruscant, people pour into the streets, cheering and weeping with joy. Strangers embrace, dancing in the light of the setting sun. The symbols of imperial power are torn down, trampled underfoot by crowds drunk on freedom. On Naboo, fireworks light up the night sky. The people gather in the plazas of Theed, singing songs of liberation that haven't been heard in 20 years. Queen Apailana, who has ruled in secret alliance with the Resistance, announces that Naboo will be among the first worlds to join the new republic. On Alderaan, Bail Organa weeps openly as he watches the broadcast. His wife Breha holds his hand, and together they listen as their adopted daughter Leia, her voice steady despite everything, announces that the Jedi and their allies will work to restore democracy to the galaxy. She speaks of healing, of justice, of a future where fear no longer rules. On worlds that have suffered under Imperial oppression for 2 decades, celebrations break out that will last for days. Wookiees roar their triumph on Kashyyyk, their freedom finally restored. Twi'leks dance on Ryloth, their chains finally broken. Mon Calamari splash joyfully in the waters of their homeworld, their shipyards now building vessels for freedom rather than tyranny. But for the Jedi, there is no time for celebration. The Emperor is dead, but the Empire remains. There are admirals who won't surrender, governors who will fight to maintain their power, systems that have become dependent on Imperial rule. The work of rebuilding will take years, perhaps generations. Anakin stands at the shattered window, looking out at the city he once called home. Obi-Wan joins him, his face worn but peaceful. "It's over," Obi-Wan says quietly. "We actually did it." Anakin shakes his head. "It's not over. It's just beginning. But we've given the galaxy a chance. That's all we can do. Give them a chance and trust them to do the rest." Luke and Leia approach, their faces showing the exhaustion of the battle, but also something else. Hope. Pride. The knowledge that they've played a part in something greater than themselves. "What happens now?" Luke asks. Anakin looks at his children, at his oldest friend, at the Jedi who have survived to see this day. "Now we go home. We tell the others what happened, and then we start the real work." "What's the real work?" "Building something better." Anakin smiles, and for a moment, he looks like the young man he was before the Clone Wars, before the Empire, before everything. The Jedi Order, the Republic, the galaxy itself. We have a chance to do it right this time. Let's not waste it. The return to Tython is triumphant. Ships from across the galaxy follow the Jedi home, carrying representatives of worlds that want to join the new order they're building. The celebration that greets them makes the one on Coruscant look modest by comparison. These are people who have spent 20 years in exile, fighting and hoping and never quite believing that this day would come. Now it has, and they're determined to savor every moment. But even in celebration, the work continues. Yoda calls a council meeting the day after their return, and the agenda is longer than any they've faced before. There's a government to rebuild, a military to transition, countless worlds that need aid and support. The Empire's collapse has left power vacuums across the galaxy, and someone needs to fill them before worse forces do. The decisions made in that meeting shape the future of the galaxy. The Jedi will not rule. They will advise, protect, and serve. But the actual work of governance will be left to the people themselves. A new republic will be formed, with safeguards against the corruption that brought down the old one. The clone army will be demobilized, the soldiers offered citizenship and support as they build new lives. The Inquisitors, those who survived, will be given a choice: redemption or exile. There will be no executions, no vengeance. The cycle of violence ends here. Anakin watches these decisions being made with a satisfaction deeper than any he's ever known. This is what he always wanted. Not power, not glory, just the chance to make things better, to leave the galaxy a little brighter than he found it. Padme finds him on the temple steps as the sun sets over Tython. She sits beside him, taking his hand. watching the colors paint the sky. "Are you happy?" she asks. Anakin considers the question. He thinks about everything he's been through: the slavery, the war, the exile, the battles and the losses, and the moments when he thought they would never win. "Yes," he says finally, "I think I am. For the first time in my life, I think I actually am." She leans her head on his shoulder. "Me too." They sit there together, husband and wife, as the stars come out above them. Somewhere out there, their children are helping to build a new galaxy. Somewhere out there, the Force is flowing as it should, light and dark in balance, life and death in harmony. The Jedi have rebuilt their temple. Not a building of stone and steel, but something far more enduring. A community, a philosophy, a way of life that embraces change instead of fearing it, that finds strength in connection instead of isolation, that trusts in the fundamental goodness of the universe. This is their legacy. Not the old temple on Coruscant, not the rigid code that nearly destroyed them, but this, a living, breathing order that will continue to grow and change and evolve for generations to come. Luke Skywalker stands before the first class of students to be trained entirely on Tython. They're young, these children, some barely old enough to hold a training saber. But their eyes are bright with curiosity and hope. And when Luke speaks, they hang on every word. The Force is with us, he tells them. It's always been with us. Not as a power to be controlled, but as a partner to be embraced. As Jedi, our job isn't to master the Force. It's to listen to it, to learn from it, to let it guide us toward whatever we're meant to become. He pauses, looking out at their eager faces. "My father once told me that the true power of the Force is connection. The bonds we form with each other, with the galaxy, with life itself. That's what makes us strong. Not our lightsabers, not our abilities, but our love for each other and for the universe we're blessed to be part of." A small hand rises from the front row. "Master Skywalker, what if we fail? What if we make mistakes?" Luke smiles. "Then we learn from them. That's all any of us can do. The Jedi Order failed once, badly. We became arrogant, rigid, afraid of change, and we nearly destroyed ourselves because of it. But we survived. We adapted. We became something better. And if we ever start to lose our way again, we'll do the same thing." He ignites his lightsaber, the blue blade humming in the quiet room. This weapon is a symbol. It represents our commitment to protect the innocent, to stand against tyranny, to serve the light. But the weapon itself isn't what matters. What matters is the person holding it. What matters is the choice they make every day to use their power for good. He deactivates the blade and clips it to his belt. Now, who's ready to begin? On the other side of Tython, Leia Skywalker is engaged in a very different kind of teaching. She stands before a group of senators and diplomats from across the galaxy, explaining the principles that will guide the new republic. Democracy, transparency, accountability, the rights of all beings to life, liberty, and self-determination. She's good at this, better than she ever imagined she would be. Padme's daughter in every way that matters, she has a gift for persuasion, for finding common ground, for turning enemies into allies. The new government she's helping to build won't be perfect. No government ever is. But it will be better than what came before. It has to be. Anakin watches her from the back of the room, pride swelling in his chest. His little girl, changing the galaxy. He remembers holding her for the first time, this tiny, squalling bundle of life. He remembers teaching her to walk, to ride a speeder, to fight with a lightsaber, He remembers the night she came to him, 14 years old and furious about the injustice she'd witnessed on a mission, demanding to know why the galaxy was so unfair. I told her the truth, he thinks. I told her the galaxy was unfair because people made it that way, and people could make it better. And she believed me. Obi-Wan joins him, his beard now fully gray, his movements slower than they once were, but still graceful. The old master watches Leia for a moment before turning to his former student. "You should be proud," he says. "I am." Anakin's voice is thick with emotion. Of both of them. Of all of this. "We did it, Obi-Wan. We actually did it." Obi-Wan nods slowly. "Though I seem to recall you doing most of the heavy lifting at the end there." Anakin laughs. "I had help. Couldn't have done it without you." They stand together in comfortable silence. Two old warriors watching the next generation take up the mantle they've carried for so long. Outside, the sun is setting on another day. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new obstacles, new opportunities. But for now, there is peace. True peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. The knowledge that the galaxy is finally, after so much darkness, moving toward the light. The years that follow are not easy. Building a new order, political and spiritual, takes time. There are setbacks and frustrations, moments when it seems like the whole project will collapse under the weight of its own ambitions. But the Jedi persist. They've spent too long fighting for this dream to give up now. Gradually, the galaxy heals. Worlds that were devastated by the war and the Empire's tyranny begin to rebuild. Trade routes reopen. Cultural exchanges flourish. A generation grows up knowing peace, real peace, for the first time in living memory. The Jedi Order grows as well. Students come from every corner of the galaxy, drawn by the stories of what the Jedi have become. They're trained not as soldiers, but as healers, diplomats, protectors. They learn to balance light and dark, to embrace emotion without being controlled by it, to form attachments that strengthen rather than weaken their connection to the Force. And at the heart of it all, on the world where it all began, the temple rises. It's not like the old temple on Coruscant. That was a monument to power, a symbol of the Jedi's influence in the galactic order. This is something different, something humbler, something alive. The buildings blend with the natural landscape, constructed from local stone and timber, designed to harmonize with the forest rather than dominate it. Gardens surround the training halls, tended by masters and students alike. A river flows through the central courtyard, its water clear and cold, carrying the sound of the Force itself. This is the Jedi Temple rebuilt. Not just the physical structure, but the philosophy it represents. A return to what the Order was always meant to be, before politics and power corrupted its purpose. Yoda passes into the Force on a quiet evening, surrounded by those he loves. He is 900 years old, ancient beyond reckoning, and he goes willingly, peacefully, knowing that his work is done. The Order he helped to save will endure long after him. The students he trained will carry his wisdom into the future. His last words are simple, spoken to Anakin as he holds the old master's hand. "Proud of you I am. The chosen one, truly you have become. Not because destroy you did, but because build you learned. Remember this always." And then he is gone, his small body fading into light, becoming one with the Force that has guided him for nearly a millennium. The funeral is held at sunset. Thousands gather to pay their respects, Jedi and civilians alike. Stories are shared, tears are shed. And when the ceremony ends, the students return to their training, the masters to their teaching, the galaxy to its endless turning. Life goes on. It always does. Anakin lives to see his grandchildren born, Luke's son and daughter, Leia's 3 children. He holds them in his arms and feels the Force flowing through them, bright and strong and full of promise. This is the future, he thinks. This is what we fought for. Not just freedom from tyranny, but freedom to love, to grow, to become whatever the Force intends us to be. He's an old man now, his hair white, his face lined with the years. The arm he lost so long ago has been replaced many times, each prosthetic a little better than the last. His body is slower than it once was, but his connection to the Force has never been stronger. He can feel the galaxy spinning around him, countless lives intertwining in an endless dance of light and shadow. And at the center of it all, like a warm fire on a cold night, he feels his family. Padme, still beautiful, still fierce, still the love of his life after all these years. Luke and Leia, grown now, with families of their own, carrying forward the legacy he and Padme began. Obi-Wan, passed into the Force years ago but still present, still guiding, still the brother he never had. He's had a good life, a meaningful life. Not the life he imagined when he was a slave on Tatooine, dreaming of the stars. Something better, something truer. And when his time comes, he's ready. He gathers his family around him, tells them how much he loves them, how proud he is of everything they've accomplished. He asks them to keep fighting, keep building, keep believing in the light, even when the darkness seems overwhelming. Then he closes his eyes, reaches out to the Force, and lets it carry him home. The galaxy mourns the chosen one. On 1,000 worlds, people who never knew him personally light candles and say prayers for the man who freed them from tyranny. The Holonet runs retrospectives on his life, from slave to Jedi to savior. Children are named after him, stories written about him, statues erected in his honor. But on Tython, the memorial is simpler. A stone marker in the temple garden beside the river he loved. His name carved in the ancient script of the first Jedi, alongside a single phrase. Through connection, we find strength. Through love, we find peace. Luke visits the marker often. He sits beside it, closes his eyes, and reaches out through the Force. Sometimes he can feel his father's presence, warm and reassuring, guiding him as he always has. The bond between them, forged in life, persists beyond death. I'll make you proud, Luke whispers. I promise. And somewhere, in the infinite expanse of the Force, Anakin Skywalker smiles. The Jedi Order continues. Students become knights, become masters, become teachers, the cycle repeating endlessly. New challenges arise and are met. New threats emerge and are defeated. The galaxy changes, as it always does. But the Jedi change with it. They are protectors now, not warriors. Healers, not generals. Their temples are open to all who seek wisdom, their teachings available to anyone who wants to learn. They have not forgotten the failures of the past. The corruption, the rigidity, the fear that nearly destroyed them. They guard against those dangers constantly, knowing that the dark side is always waiting, always searching for weakness to exploit. But they do not fear it. Fear was the old way, the way that failed. The new way is acceptance, understanding, balance. The Force flows through all things, light and dark, life and death, creation and destruction. The Jedi do not seek to control it, only to serve it, to be instruments of its will, whatever that will might be. And the Force, it seems, has chosen to reward their faithfulness with something extraordinary. This is the Order rebuilt, Not perfect, never perfect, but better than what came before. A living testament to the belief that people can change, that institutions can reform, that the mistakes of the past don't have to define the future. This is the legacy of Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, who brought balance to the Force not through destruction, but through creation. Who saved the Jedi not by fighting the darkness, but by embracing the light. Who proved that even the most tragic destiny can be rewritten, if only you have the courage to try. The temple stands on Tython, its spires reaching toward the stars. Within its walls, younglings learn the ways of the Force. In its gardens, masters meditate on the mysteries of existence. Across its courtyards, life continues in all its messy, beautiful complexity. And in the Force itself, binding all things together, the spirits of the Jedi who came before watch over their children. Yoda and Obi-Wan, Anakin and Padme, all the masters and knights and students who gave their lives for this dream. They are at peace, knowing that their sacrifice was not in vain. The Jedi have rebuilt their temple, and in doing so, they have rebuilt themselves. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.